This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
Good evening, India, and a very good day to all the viewers across the United States, especially in Cincinnati, Ohio, Chicago, and Phoenix. Storytellers Café has been launched in all these three cities or states, as well as Bharat FM has gone to Phoenix, Chicago, and the main city is Cincinnati, Ohio. Welcome to Storytellers Cafe, and I'm your host, Usha Venkatraman. We have winter special for you. How are you doing, my friends? I know the pandemic isn't going away. In this new normal, I hope everyone is taking care, staying safe, masked, maintaining social distancing, and keep washing your hands. It's been 8 months and we've got kind of used to it, right? Now sit back for the next 30 to 40 minutes. Enjoy stories on Storytellers Cafe. It's winter, I know, but Mumbai doesn't have winter. Maybe a slight chill in the morning. But our guest tonight is from the hinterland, from Madhya Pradesh's capital city, Bhopal, the city of lakes. I have been to this beautiful city. So let me introduce our guest for tonight, Jyoti Pande from Bhopal. Now, Jyoti has a very interesting career graph. Let me take you through it. Jyoti is an ardent educationist and a practicing psychologist with an experience of over 20 years in the field of teaching and counseling. In a career spanning 20 years, she has made stupendous scholastic contribution in reputed schools, headed the Shaurya Primary School in Dehradun Cantonment, and worked as a counsellor in the Army Public School Delhi and Kendriya Vidyalaya Bhopal. Jyoti is a postgraduate and a Master of Philosophy in Psychology from Bhopal University and holds the distinction of being the first in the order of merit in both. Congratulations, Jyoti. Jyoti also holds a postgraduate diploma in psychological counselling from the Institute of Psychotherapy and Management Studies, Mumbai, and a diploma in guidance and counselling from NCERT Delhi with distinction. Jyoti is a certified teacher trainer on happiness from this organization ICEP, which is the Institute of Child Education and Psychology from Europe. She is also a certified happiness and mindfulness coach from the Berkeley School of Wellbeing and Happitude. Jyoti has been trained in mindfulness from the Mindful School in United Kingdom and is a certified teacher educator. To deepen her practice of mindfulness, Jyoti regularly attends retreats by Ahimsa Trust conducted by monks from Plum Village, of which Thich Nhat Hanh is very famous and is presently undergoing training to teach mindfulness to children. Thich Nhat Hanh is a favorite author and my go-to in times of need, stress, anxiety, and depression. She is part of the elite resource school for NCERT Regional Institute at Bhopal and Ajmer and undertakes training sessions on counseling skills for teachers of the Kendriya Vidyalaya and Navodaya Vidyalaya on a regular basis. Jyoti is also a resource person for TIS, Tata Institute of Social Sciences at the School of Vocational Education. She's married to an army officer and has traveled extensively across India and also involved in the welfare activities for the families of defense personnel. She was heading the counseling cell in the Bhopal military station and was instrumental in setting up a wellness and happiness center for well-being of army families at Bhopal. Jyoti has conducted mental awareness program for more than 2,000 families of the army personnels in Bhopal, Bhatinda and Hisar. As a part of the welfare measure, Jyoti has trained the wives of army personnel in basic counseling skills and took sessions on career counseling for 800 children of all the army schools of Jammu division. Wow, that is indeed a great feat. Given her position for exploring new avenues that would help her to connect with others, Jyoti is now an established certified storyteller. She has been trained by master storytellers in the field of storytelling. I will let Jyoti talk about her training. Her passion is transformational and healing stories and has been trained in it by Jim Brule. Jyoti is the founding member of the Indian Storytellers Healing Network, who have conducted 2 successful festivals, Watering the Roots, with well-known storytellers from across the world as well as in India. As a storyteller, she has graced various literary festivals, Kanpur Children Literary Fest, Bukharu Children's Literature Festival in Bhopal, and Kitabu Festival in Jodhpur. Jyoti is also associated with Arushi, an NGO for special children, and Parvarish, the museum school for underprivileged children, where she conducts regular storytelling sessions for their growth and empowerment. Today, Jyoti is a freelance trainer and develops need-based program for various organizations under her space Soul Katha, ranging from storytelling to mindfulness and the science of happiness. That's quite interesting. In these new normals, I think the science of happiness is something we need to explore further. So, without further ado, let me welcome Jyoti Pande to Storytellers Cafe. Jyoti, welcome to Storytellers Cafe. And it's a great pleasure to have you grace our studios tonight.
It's an honor to be here, Usha, and especially sharing space with a person I admire so much. I keep following Usha, the kind of work she does, and I admire her creativity in storytelling. And I'm really honored, Usha, to be invited to Storytellers Cafe and share the stories. So
Not
I
at all,
will.
Jyoti. It's our honor. You have achieved so much, and I was going through your profile, and it has to be told. You know, I've always admired army personnel because I grew up in Jhansi, and you have a strong army cantonment there. So my friends were all from the army. I was in an all girls school, and there is a certain discipline, and there's a wonderful, kind of a community that you grow up in and with. So it's been beautiful for me. It's like traversing my childhood uh, roots. We traveled to Bhopal, Vidisha, Sanchi, and we would travel in the special saloon. My dad was in the railway, so it would be a house on wheels, and we would go all to the neighboring cities and towns traveling. Oh, those were such wonderful times. But so, coming back to you, Jyoti, what do you have for us? I thought let's start with a story. So, tell us something about the story that you're going to share today.
Usha, my story is a folk tale from Uttarakhand, basically Garhwal. My husband is from Garhwal regiment, And for the past 32 years, I've been associated with Garhwal, have had several postings there, spent almost 10 years in Joshima, Dehradun, and a fabulous place called Lansdowne. So it is rightly called the Dev Bhumi. So I have a folk tale from Garhwal, you know, honoring my association with Garhwal. So I'll begin my story.
Yes, please.
हिटो दीदी होए होए हिटो बुली हिटवे वेना घास काटो ना पहाड़ी डांडा हो बसंत को मैनो दीदी चैत को मैनो बसंत को ऋतु दीदी चैत को मैनो चैत को मैनो दीदी काफल पकीनो हिटो दीदी होए होए हिटो बुली पहाड़ी डांडा हो. In a village in Garhwal lived a mother and a daughter. Oh well, why am I saying this in English? Let me tell you the story in Hindi. गढ़वाल के एक छोटे से गांव में माँ और बेटी रहते थे. छोटा सा घर था, एक छोटा सा खेत का टुकड़ा. पहाड़ों की जिंदगी वैसे भी बहुत कठिन होती है और इन माँ बेटी के लिए कुछ ज्यादा ही कठिन थी क्योंकि कोई सहारा नहीं था. कुछ बो के कुछ बेच के गुजर बसर हो जाती थी, लेकिन माँ बेटी को कोई शिकायत नहीं थी. एक दूसरे का सहारा थी वो. काफल का मौसम आते ही माँ बेटी के चेहरे पे रौनक आ जाती थी. काफल गढ़वाल का उत्तराखंड का एक छोटा सा फल होता है जो केवल कुछ दिनों के लिए ही होता है. आप उसको बाहर ले नहीं जा सकते क्योंकि जल्दी खराब हो जाता है. इसलिए काफल खाने हो तो गढ़वाल जरूर जाइएगा. कहते हैं भगवान इंद्र का पसंदीदा फल था. तो भगवान इंद्र का पसंदीदा फल तिरुबुली को भी बहुत पसंद था. तिरुबुली वो छोटी लड़की जिसकी कहानी मैं आपको सुना रही थी. काफल का मौसम आते ही गढ़वाल के पेड़ों पे काफल लग जाते थे. चिड़िया गाने लगती थी, लोगों के चेहरे पर खुशी आ जाती थी. और तिरुबुली और उसकी माँ वो तो इंतजार करते थे चैत के महीने का कि कब काफल आए. वो टोकरी भर भर कर काफल इकट्ठा करें और थोड़ा बहुत बेचकर और पैसे इकट्ठे कर ले. चैत का महीना आ चुका था. तिरुबुली की माँ ने उससे घर में रहने को कहा और खुद काफल इकट्ठा करने चली गई. पहाड़ों की टेढ़ी मेढ़ी पगडंडियों से चलते हुए ऊपर पहुंची और जंगल से ढेरों काफल टोकरी में इकट्ठा करके घर ले आई. घर पहुंची तो याद आया कि घास के लिए चारा तो काटा ही नहीं है, जलाने के लिए लकड़ी तो इकट्ठी ही नहीं की है. उसने काफल की टोकरी आंगन में रखी और तिरुबुली उसकी छोटी सी 10 साल की लड़की से कहा, ध्यान रखना, एक भी काफल मत खाना, मैं आकर काफल दूंगी. ये काफल बाजार में बेचने के लिए है. तिरुबुली को काफल बहुत पसंद थे. माँ की बात सुनकर सिर हिला दिया, नहीं खाऊंगी माँ. खेलने लगी. माँ चली गई जंगल में लकड़ियां इकट्ठा करने. तिरुबुली बार बार काफल की टोकरी के पास जाती, कपड़ा खोलकर देखती. रसीले लाल लाल काफल मन ललचा रहा था, लेकिन माँ ने मना किया था, काफल खाने नहीं है, काफल बेचने के लिए है. थोड़ी देर बाद फिर जाकर देखती. एक बार तो उसने एक काफल को उठाकर देखा और मुंह तक डालने वाली थी, तभी याद आया कि माँ ने काफल खाने को मना किया है. उसने काफल धीरे से टोकरी में रख दिए. खेलते खेलते पता नहीं कब नींद लग गई. उधर माँ थकी हारी लकड़ियां और घास लेकर पहुंची. उसे एक किनारे रखकर आवाज लगाई, तिरुबुली 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 तिरुबुली। सो रही थी। मां ने जाकर काफल की टोकरी खोलकर देखी। देखा तो काफल 1/4 रह गए थे। थकी हारी मां पहाड़ी चढ़कर आई थी। इतनी गर्मी, और उस पर अपनी लड़की की इस उदंडता पर उसे बहुत क्रोध आया। उसने झंझकोर कर उठाया, तिरुबुली तिरुबुली। तिरुबुली आंखें मलते हुए उठी। तूने काफल खाए? मेरे मना करने के बाद भी तूने काफल खाए? नहीं मां, मैंने काफल नहीं खाए। झूठ बोलती है। कहाँ गए सारे काफल? टोकरी भरी हुई थी। कहते हुए उसने तिरुबुली को मारना शुरू किया। मारती गई, गुस्सा भरा हुआ था। और वो लड़की जिसने अपने मन को मार कर रखा था, कहती रही, मां मैंने काफल नहीं खाए हैं। मां ने कुछ न सुनी। मारते मारते थक गई तो एक जोर का धक्का दिया। लड़की गिर पड़ी। मां सिर पकड़कर बैठ गई। सोचा था कुछ पैसे मिल जाएंगे, अब इतने काफल बचे हुए हैं। क्या बेचूं, क्या खाऊं? दोपहर के 1 बज चुके थे। थोड़ी देर बाद जब तिरुबुली की कोई आवाज नहीं आई तो मां डर गई। उसने झंझकोड़ कर तिरुबुली को उठाया। उठ बेटा, उठ। कोई हरकत नहीं हुई। वो दौड़ के पानी लाई। उसने हाथ मले पर बेटी के तो प्राण पखेरु उड़ चुके थे। छू कर देखा तो सांस नहीं चल रही थी। मां का जी धक। ये मैंने क्या कर डाला? ये मैंने क्या कर डाला? एक कोने में बैठकर रोने लगी। किसको आवाज लगाती, किसको बुलाती। और थोड़ी देर बाद उसकी नजर काफल की टोकरी पे पड़ी तो काफल वैसे के वैसे भरे हुए थे। मेरी बेटी सच कह रही थी, उसने काफल नहीं खाए थे। मेरी बेटी सच कह रही थी, उसने काफल नहीं खाए थे। जोर जोर से मां छाती पीट पीट कर रोने लगी है। मैंने क्या कर डाला? हुआ यूं था कि तेज धूप में काफल सिकुड़ गए थे, और जैसे ही शाम की हल्की ठंडी हवा चली, नमी लिए हुए, काफलों ने फिर पूरा अपना आकार ले लिया और वो टोकरी भर गई थी। और मां ने बेटी पर भरोसा न करके उसको धक्का दिया, उसको मारा। मां ये सह नहीं पाई। उसको इतना जोर का आघात लगा कि उसके भी प्राण पखेरु उड़ गए। गढ़वाल की लोक कथा है। लोग कहते हैं, मां और बेटी 2 चिड़िया बनकर उड़ गई। और आज भी चैत के महीने में जब काफलों से पेड़ लदे होते हैं तो 2 चिड़िया गाती हैं। एक चिड़िया कहती है, काफल पाक्यो मैंने चाक्यो, काफल पाक्यो मैंने चाक्यो। और दूसरी कहती है, काफल पाक्यो तूने चाक्यो, काफल पाक्यो तूने चाक्यो, पूर पुतरी पूर पूर, पूर पुतरी पूर पूर। यानी कि लड़की कहती है, काफल पक गए हैं पर मैंने चखे नहीं है। और माँ कहती है, हाँ बेटी, काफल पक गए हैं पर तूने नहीं चखे, काफल पूरे के पूरे हैं। काफल पाक्यो मैं नहीं चख्यो। और ये लोक कथा गढ़वाल की है। लोक कथा कुछ भी कहती हो, मेरा दिल कहता है कि माँ बेटी चिड़िया बनकर मुक्त गगन में उड़ गई और काफलों के पेड़ के बीच में अपनी खुशी पाती है। मेरा यही सोचना है। और आपका?
मेरा भी यही सोच है। Wow, बहुत खूब. It was such a beautiful story and so nice to hear in Hindi, Jyoti. What is the Chat Mahina that you're saying? That is, which month is that?
चैत का महीना। चैत महीना इज मार्च अप्रैल।
Okay, okay. Chet
So
ka
that is the time when kaffals bloom on the trees, and they are for a very short time, very short duration, maybe for a month.
Okay. Lovely. So this is a folk tale from that region. This is a
Right.
story from there. Lovely. So Jyoti, tell us something about yourself which is not written in your profile, something that would be interesting for people who are watching Storytellers Cafe. And friends out there, please put your questions for Jyoti on the chat and we will answer it for you. Please do that. We would like to know from where you're watching and your name. We would love to know who are our viewers. So, sorry, Jyoti. Now, please, can you tell us something which we don't know about you?
Well, one thing you may not know is that I love aloo parathas. But
Wow.
apart from that, storytelling came much later in my life. In
Mhm.
fact, I hear all the storytellers share their story that they have grown up listening to the story. My mother, we were in a joint family in Riva. For my grandfather was the personal physician to Maharaja Riva, and we had a huge ancestral house, and I grew up there. So my mother used to be busy. Everybody used to be busy in the joint family. So I never heard much of stories then. We used to play the cousins and tired go off to sleep. Maybe once in a while, my grandmother would tell me a story, but not like the other storytellers who had a dose of stories right from the early childhood. So, and then, yeah, of course, I would read stories. I loved reading a lot. And even when we came to Bhopal, where my father was in the state services, we served. Still, my mother in the nuclear family, she had her hands full with four of us, the brother sisters. So there was never time for stories. In fact, I miss that. Now, in near future, when I am a grandmother, I'm going to make sure that I tell stories to my grandchildren. When I started training the teachers and counselors, I realized that stories help in building that rapport, that connect. So before preparing the lessons, I would look for a short story and share the story with them. And it was a huge success. So I realized I must get trained in it professionally. And that is the time I learned from Geeta Ramanujam, Kathalya. I did this basic storytelling course. After that, I met you in Singapore when I attended the feast and attended workshop by Margaret McReed and Roger Jenkins and Sheila V. And then there was no looking back. My hunger for learning was insatiable. In fact, there's a joke going amongst us friends that if Jyoti is not sleeping, she's attending workshops on storytellings. But I don't see anything wrong in it. It's I believe in learning and growing all the time.
Yes.
So that is it. And then I did not want to leave my core skill of counseling, and thus the idea of healing network came up. I
Mhm.
realized using stories and psychology together would be a great thing. So, this Indian Healing Storytellers Network came into being along with my four other friends. And like you have mentioned, we had two very successful fests, Watering the Roots, where we had storytellers coming and sharing healing stories. So, that is it. And yeah, that is all I can think of. And I love telling stories and I love Zen stories. Maybe that was not mentioned because somewhere they go deep down. Short stories and they leave a mark. That is what I like.
In your profile, I came across Thich Nhat Hanh, and you go and do your meditation retreat or something in a retreat. Could you tell us about that? Because I'm really interested in that. Two of
Usha,
my favorite authors are Eckhart Tolle and Thich Nhat Hanh. My go-to for everything. Yeah.
absolutely. So, Usha, I was going through a rather tough time in my life when my daughter got married and my husband was busy with his newfound job post retirement. And it was a kind of emptiness syndrome. So, though I was doing a lot of work, but there's some loneliness that crept in. And then I started reading about mindfulness, and it made sense to me how mindfulness practice help you amidst all the chaos in life. And I took to mindfulness. So there is this Ahimsa trust in India, which is a corollary of the uh, yeah, Plum Village, Thikna Huts Plum Village Center. And every year they have monks coming down here and holding retreats in schools in Dehradun, India. So I
Mhm.
was fortunate enough, I attended the retreats, got into mindfulness practice, then realized I need to do a lot more study. Then I got trained in mindfulness from Mindful Schools UK. Then again, this was a continuous journey. Then I started taking mindfulness sessions for children because I realized you learn more when you teach others. So it has been an integral part of my life for the past 5, 6 years. And I regularly meditate, and that gives me a lot of strength. My life totally was transformed after that. So that is about mindfulness. And now I conduct training sessions on mindfulness, and I teach mindfulness using stories. So again, I like combine both the things. So that is it.
Very, very interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Jyoti. So, do you have another story for us?
Well, I have a story, but this one I'm going to tell in English.
Absolutely, sure. Though I would love to listen to you in Hindi. We rarely get to listen in the regional languages, but this is awesome. Please go ahead. And you have a
And
very soothing voice, you know. People say that about my voice, though I'm not a very soothing person. Probably my voice is, tempered over the years. Lovely. We'd love to hear another story from you.
so before I start the story, I would like to give credit to Lani Peterson. I heard the story from her, and it just touched my heart. And I was looking for an opportunity to share the story. And thank you, Usha, for providing this platform for sharing the story. Many, many moons ago, many moons ago, there lived a king with his beautiful wife, the queen, and a lovely daughter, the princess. The princess was like any other princess, except that she never smiled, she never laughed, and she was never ever happy. The king tried every single thing. From jokers to jugglers to physicians to storytellers, yes, storytellers, but nothing worked. The princess never smiled. The only thing that mattered to her was a small silver ball which she always held in her hand. Everywhere she went, the ball was with her. So much so that so many a times people thought she could use only one hand, for in the other hand she could be holding the ball. And when she held the ball closer to her ears, she could hear the bells ringing and the angels singing. And whenever she felt anxious, she would hold the ball near her ears and immediately felt a calming effect. Now, once it so happened that the queen mother fell ill, very, very ill, and nobody was permitted to go to her room, the chambers. Not even the princess who loved hugging her queen mother every single day, missed it. But it was prohibited, so she did not go. She would stand on the door of her room and listen to the ball and felt a little calmer. When the queen started getting better, the prince, the king, to celebrate, announced a huge feast where people were invited and there would be festivities and celebrations to celebrate the queen being well again. And the people loved the king and the queen. So they all decided to take small, small gifts for the queen. And the princess heard everyone talking about taking the gift for the queen mother. She went to her queen mother's room and asked her, "Mother, I want to give you a gift. What shall I get for you?" The mother looked at her. "It's fine. Your hugs and smiles are all I need, my little princess. Your hugs and smiles." But she did not have a smile to give. It was only the hugs. "No, mother. Tell me, I really want to get something for you. Something which you would like and something which you would enjoy." The mother thought for some time and said, "In my home, my mother's home, I had a small rosemary plant. And whenever I would feel sad and anxious, I would cut the sprigs of the plant and put them in my soup or food or tea, and it would help me calm." The princess listened with attention, and she went running to the prime minister and asked the prime minister, "Where can we get a rosemary plant?" The prime minister was very fond of this little princess, for he had seen her growing up. He said, "I will send all the soldiers in all the directions, and be assured you will get the rosemary plant." The prime minister, true to his word, sent the soldiers all the four directions: the east, the west, the north, the south. And the soldiers came back and stood with their heads down. They could not find the rosemary plant anywhere. And the princess was so disappointed. She was almost in tears. The prime minister looked at her and said, "Don't worry. I will go and get the rosemary plant for you." He also roamed around far and wide but could not find the plant anywhere. And when he was returning back to the palace on the outskirts, he saw a light coming out from a hut. And out of curiosity, he walked towards the hut and the mother and heard a sound of the lullaby coming out from the hut. As he went and knocked, an old lady opened the door. And he could see in that hut a small child was lying down. And behold, on the window was a rosemary plant. He requested the old lady to give the plant to her and asked her to name how many coins of gold does she want for the plant. She refused. "I cannot give the rosemary plant. My grandson needs it. He needs the plant. I put him in his food, for he loves the rosemary sprigs." The prime minister was disappointed and went back and told the story to the princess. The princess decided to go herself. Next day, she asked for the royal chariot. She dressed in the best of her clothes, took loads of bags filled with gold coins, and reached the hut. She knocked at the door again, and the old lady opened the door. She had a silver ball in her hand. She requested the lady, but the lady refused. And while she was going back, the grandson caught sight of the silver ball and smiled. The old lady could see this. She said, "Okay, There is a solution. Let's do the barter. You give me the silver ball, and I will give you the rosemary plant. Princess did not say anything. She turned back and left, for she knew she could not give the silver ball. That was the only thing that mattered to her. Next day, she called the royal jeweler and asked him to make a beautiful necklace with gold and silver and emerald and diamonds and ruby, a necklace which nobody has ever seen. And he did that. He got the necklace in few days. And the princess looked at the necklace and liked it. I'm sure the queen mother is going to like the necklace, she said. The day of the feast came, and early in the morning, when she got up, she realized she was feeling very sad. And she knew the reason why. She dressed up in the plain clothes and walked alone towards the hut. In her hand was the silver ball. As she reached there for the second time, she knocked and quietly handed over the silver ball to the old lady. And the old lady, without any word, held the rosemary plant to her. She walked back with the rosemary plant, got ready to attend the feast. And the festivities were going on, and the people were offering the gifts to the Queen Mother, for they loved the Queen. And Queen Mother's eyes were looking for her princess, who was nowhere to be seen. And suddenly, from the crowd, the princess walked to the Queen Mother with the rosemary plant in her hand. And without a word, she gave it to the Queen. The Queen looked at the plant, and tears started rolling down her eyes. All the memories of the childhood and her mother's home came flooding in. She hugged the little girl tightly. And then the little girl, the princess, walked back. And for the first time ever, the people of the kingdom saw the little princess give a smile.
What a lovely story. Thank you, Lani Peterson, for sharing this story so that we could all listen to it. Lovely. Thank you, Jyoti. Wonderful. Indeed.
So this is the Christmas is fast approaching, Usha, and Christmas, the spirit of Christmas is all about love and compassion and empathy and giving. And I could not. I looked for the stories, but this story has been on my mind since the time I listened to Lani, and so this story came up. And I always feel that stories come to you, to be shared.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They are meant to be shared. Stories are meant to be shared. And so beautifully written by A.K. Ramanujam that don't store them, don't stifle stories inside you. I think as long as you give credit to the source or from whom you heard, and even if you haven't adapted, don't copy it verbatim, but if you can just retell it in your own words, I think stories are meant to be shared. I truly believe that. Otherwise, why would you put out stories? And why would you tell stories? If Valmiki hadn't, kind of written his epic poem, we wouldn't know Ramayana. It's been translated, retold, and retold by so many people. There's so many versions of it. So stories need to be told, need to be shared. Yes, and that's what Storytellers Cafe is all about. Sorry,
It's a
you were
great place.
saying?
It's a great place, Usha, you've created. And I'm sure all the storytellers of the world, would be kind of looking forward to hearing stories on the Storytellers Cafe, because I do listen to the stories regularly, whether
Yes.
it's Karsh Patel or Nandini from Singapore. I've been a regular, attendee of the Storytellers Cafe.
Yes, yes. I've seen that. I have been observing that there are many people who are regulars on Storytellers Cafe, may not be storytellers, but they are wonderful listeners. Like I said, we need listeners to listen to our stories, and also give us feedback. That's why I urge all you listeners out there to put your thoughts and comments on the chat box so that we know what it is that you liked about Jyoti's story, or something about it. And Jyoti is there this Sunday to answer your questions. So please go ahead, don't wait, just put down your comments. So this was wonderful, Jyoti. It was so nice to have you, and what a soothing story. Yes, Christmas is the time to bring Christmas cheer, joy. I know things are not really normal, but there is something nice in this new normal as well. For there's so much to kind of introspect, look within, and do like so many workshops. You could, educate yourself. You could attend many workshops, do the things that you never thought you had the time. You were running around. Now, just by sitting, you can access so much, and the world is at your feet. You can reach out to the whole world, and that's what we do. So I hope all of you enjoyed listening to Jyoti as much as I did, and thank you for sharing two wonderful stories. Like, one mantra, it's a beautiful African story which says that happiness comes from within. All you need to remember is, whether it rains, shines, sleets, howling with wind, just make time to have some fun. So that is the mantra. That is the magic elixir, I would say. Just make time to have some fun. And what way can you have fun? By listening to stories, by creating stories, sharing stories with others. It's a beautiful way to give back to the community. I think it's a wonderful tool. And I'm thankful that I became a storyteller.
And a great one at that, Usha. Like I mean, hearing stories in your soothing voice is something you never rush, you never jump. It is with a very steady voice that I love listening to the stories of that kind. That itself is very healing. The effect is very healing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jyoti. So, to all my listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning into Storytellers Cafe. Please do tune in on 20th of December. We have a Christmas special. We have Sandhya Rubin from Chennai and a dear friend who will be telling us stories and sharing the Christmas cheer. So stay tuned. Have a wonderful evening to all the Indians out here, and especially people of Bhopal. Bhopal is not only known for the gas tragedy. We have a wonderful storyteller like Jyoti Pande from Bhopal. Three cheers to Bhopal, and have a great day in the United States. See you next Saturday. Thank you, Jyoti.
Thank you, Usha. Thank you for having me here and a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.